I'm Greg Gomer, and this is the BostInno Beat. As you can see, my co-host is not here. He is still gallivanting across France. However, the show must go on, and we've brought in a special guest designated hitter to keep things moving. Let's get started.
Well, obviously we're having some problem, and sometimes happens with live television.
Let's talk about RoboCop.
Oh, hell no.
We'll do it live.
The big one this week, huge one this week, we're going to talk all about HubSpot. And to do that, we've brought in special guest Keith Frankel, who's a former HubSpotter himself and is now the Chief Digital Officer at startup TableList. So let's talk about HubSpot. Obviously, this week is their massive inbound conference. Keynotes from Malcolm Gladwell, Martha Stewart, huge deal. And actually, they just launched new products. They launched a full CRM solution and a product called Sidekick. Being that you've been at HubSpot, tell me about this. What do you think?
It's inbound's always a super exciting time for HubSpot. This year, 10,000 people. There was 5,400 last year, so they've almost doubled within a year, and it's kind of amazing to see. They were. I was fortunate enough to get to go for the first day and see the whole thing kick off. The scale is really hard to believe in person. The conference itself, I think, HubSpot is doing the best it can to deal with the growth. How do you handle people wandering this gigantic BCEC in the seaport? But overall, so far the conference has been fantastic. It's pretty customary for HubSpot to launch its brand new products when every year when inbound hits. They're following a meme they started last year, which was obviously the inbound sales product. So they've introduced really HubSpot CRM, which is the big push, and also now that they have this Sidekick, which is really just a rebranded, repackaged, kind of improved version of a product called Signals that they launched last year. I think it's the obvious next step. Especially given that there's the IPO or potential acquisition coming up. It looks really good to say, hey, we've moved away from this marketing thing, which we're dominating, over into the sales space.
CRM, sales space.
It's an obvious next step.
And I'm glad you brought up the IPO. As Dan Primack pointed out in today's term sheet, he brought up some numbers. According to HubSpot's S1 filing, HubSpot only had $7.3 million of cash on hand as of June 30th. They have $9.9 million of total working capital. Now, it also reports that HubSpot, or they had lost $3 million per month in the first half of 2014. So if you run some quick math, 3 months later, with $3 million lost, that's $7 to $9 million is going to be gone within the end of September.
Pretty scary.
They're going to have to do something fast. Now, the talk is that let's get Alibaba's IPO out of the way before HubSpot goes. So HubSpot has a few options really within the next 2 weeks or so. So let's expect something big. They're either going to obviously hold their initial public offering. They could raise another round of financing, similar to what Box did. They had filed the S1 and then got more cash on hand to be able to sort of delay the IPO. Or, as you sort of alluded to, and we've touched upon a little bit before, is that there are suitors out there looking to acquire HubSpot. One of them might be Salesforce. This CRM product launching could be something there. All eyes on the orange sprocket. Hot off the Goss train this week, some pretty big goss. We're hearing that Atlas is just starting to prepare for its next fundraise. That'll be its 10th fund. Atlas is currently investing out of its 9th fund. As you know, they're one of the most active, if not the most active seed fund and Series A fund here in Boston. And we're hearing that they've written so many checks to companies that some of the reserves are actually running a little thin. So they will be financing or looking for funding for their 10th fund very soon.
I got nothing. Exciting news for them.
All right. Making moves this week, Tablist, firsthand making some moves. They just launched or are about to launch, in the process of launching a San Francisco office. So let's talk Tablist. You guys
Promise, we're going nowhere.
All right.
There's obviously proximity bias is a real thing. Like it'd be hard for me to sit next to you and not look at you and just focus over here. So there's obviously a pull for us. Like, do we go to one of these cities where nightlife is, much more prevalent? A New York, a Vegas, something like that. But for us, it's really Boston is the right place to really get this started. There's so many, cool young companies doing really progressive, interesting things, and it's just a great I would say, burgeoning community for us to be a part of. We're sharing so many ideas with so many, companies that are in totally different spaces, and we're just not ready to leave that quite yet.
Boston's hot right now. In the community this week, 50 on Fire, believe it or not, is quickly approaching. Nominations are open. Companies are flying through the door. Everybody's apparently on fire this year. But we're actually kicking off a set of meetups where you can sort of meet and greet some of the past winners, some of the alumni, some of the judges. And the first 50 on Fire meetup will be next Wednesday at Carry Nation. You'll be rubbing elbows with some of the best, tech, marketing, advertising folks in the city and some nominees. And I think if Tablist plays their cards right, they could be a nominee this year.
Whew, fingers crossed for that.
Oh my God! One more bit of news this week. Big news this week. My girl J-Law, Jennifer Lawrence, is back. The new trailer for Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 is out. It's gonna be a hit. It looks unbelievable. I'm jumping on the Hunger Games bandwagon. I can't wait till the movie comes out.
Segments like this are the only reason I watch the BostInno beat.
Boom. Thanks for coming out. I don't know how long that was, because I blacked out a little bit. It's amazing. It's amazing. Chase brings us down all the time.